So our next guest is from Education Otherwise, and her name is Alice. So we welcome Alice, and I will spotlight you in a minute. And Alice, you're muted at the moment, but I'll spotlight you. And if you want, I'll come be spotlight next to you, so you don't feel like it's too much pressure. Um, Nice to meet you. She's stepped in at the literally 11th hour last night, and I believe you were home educated yourself, Alice?
I am still home educated at the
Still
moment.
home
Yeah,
educated. So, yeah, how old are you now?
I'm 15.
Wonderful. Well, thanks for joining us. And so just to tell us a little bit about yourself and are you, yeah, first tell us a bit about yourself, about your home ed journey, that kind of thing.
So I'm Alice. I left school at the end of year four to be home educated, and I'm representing Education Otherwise, which is one of the home education charities. And I joined their youth panel when I was 13. So I've been with them for a couple of years now, and I'm now sort of running that youth panel. And my home education journey has been brilliant. I've really enjoyed home education. For the first year out, I sort of did more deschooling and figuring out what I wanted to do. And since then, I'm starting an open university degree next month. And so I'm very happy doing what I want to do. And I've been home educated for a lot of years. It's gone by very quickly.
So what will you be studying at Open University?
English language.
Okay, good, good. It's a good one, since you speak it. So, um, and you're doing it the age, starting that at the age of 15, right?
Yes, but it's with
Yeah.
the Open University, so that's a bit more
Mm.
sort of normal. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. No, well, that's great. It's good to hear. And is it only you and your family home educated, or do you have any siblings?
My brother is also home educated. I left school when I was in at the end of year four, and he left school 2 years after I did,
Okay.
when COVID lockdown started, and he realised sort of how much more he liked being at home.
Oh yeah. No, it's definitely a nice way of life. So do you want to, I think let's first talk a little bit about education. Otherwise, this is the oldest home education charity in the UK, which was established. I actually read this last night. Don't know if Joe, if you or the night before, Joe. I don't know if you can remember what when we said it was established. I don't know if you know when it was established, but it is, I think, sort of around the 70s. I think late 70s. Am I right? I think so. Yeah. And those few families coming together to form something, and it wasn't actually a charity initially. I think it was just more of an association. Um, and it was a real connecting point for many, many families. It was, I think, probably the only proper sort of national connecting point. Um, because certainly when I moved to the UK in 2007, there was a Yahoo group, an Education Otherwise Yahoo group, and they would, I don't, you, this is way before your time, Alice, but it would be like emails that, like that go out to everyone and you can respond and put your queries and that kind of thing. And that was where everyone went for advice and support. There was no Facebook back then. And Joe said it was 1976 when it was formed, but there was no Facebook. People communicated by phone or by letter and that kind of thing. Because I think um, emails came a bit later on. Um, yeah, towards the 90s is when the emails came. I'm just trying to remember because I know yeah, I don't want to give my age away. So let's just leave it at that. Okay. Um, yeah, and now Education Otherwise is a charity. Yeah.
Mhm.
And do you want to tell us a little bit more about what they do?
So we still do definitely what we were originally set up to do, which is being sort of the point for people to ask for advice and ask questions and connect in that way. So we have a helpline, which is staffed with volunteers to answer questions from home educated parents, young people about questions about home educating. So that's everybody from answering about reports, and we also do report checking to people who are thinking about home education and want to know what different routes you can take and how to do things like exams or what the legal requirements are and everything like that. So we have a helpline, we answer email inquiries and do a lot of training events with local authorities in the background, sort of campaigning for changes on education law and everything. So, because our main goal is obviously promoting acceptance of parents being able to choose and having the right to choose their kind of education for their children.
Yeah, and of course the website has got a lot of information as well.
Yes.
There's a report checking service for members if people want to have their reports looked over and given some advice around that. Um, and so you said they've got a youth panel.
Yes.
Yes, so do you want to tell me a bit about the youth panel?
Brilliant. So the youth panel was started, I think, 2 years ago when I first joined, as an idea to sort of get young people involved in making changes around home education. Because obviously, if you think of it, the end users of home education are the children, and that was something that really most home education organisations and the things that, the big ones that work with the Department of Education, they don't really have young people there speaking at events and speaking to professionals and people involved in the lawmaking. And that it's really about the young people's voice because these are the children who've either been home educated forever or have been taken out of school for whatever reason, and that's really who we need to be listening to when it comes to forming education policy and when it comes to thinking about home education, because they're the people being home educated and they know how much it's benefit them and they know how much other methods of education that didn't fit them really might have damaged them. And we know about things like education trauma from when we sort of, it's again always about that trying to shove a square peg into a circle hole. And it's important to have young people working around home education because they know how much it works for them just as much as their parents do.
Yeah, and is there anything that the youth panel have been able to do at all to uh, speak to the adults in the room in terms of politicians and
I've been
anything
to
like that? Yeah.
through home education otherwise, I've been to the House of Lords twice for two different meetings about things relating to. So one of them was about the Children's Wellbeing in Schools Bill, another was about access to exams and a pilot programme to encourage and incentivise schools to open up to private candidates. So I think we've been able to do an awful lot. We do a lot of presenting back to Education Otherwise with sort of ideas for what we can do. And I've spoken at the Conference of Education Welfare Managers as well. There's been a lot of chances to actually get hands-on speaking to the people who make these policies and who have a say in this and making sure that young people get into those environments because they generally really don't. And we know that there's a really quite disastrous lack of engagement in anything like politics
Mm.
from children anyway. And
Yeah.
when it comes to home education, especially something that's impacting these children every day and something that unfortunately is a right that's no longer going to be automatic.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we had Chloe Newby on earlier. I don't know if you've come across Chloe, but Chloe's was home educated herself and her husband as well, and she's now a young mum with three children. But when she was your age, she was running around the halls of Parliament and demanding to speak to her MP and this kind of thing. And there were a few of them. There were a group of young people that really, really got engaged politically and made sure that they were heard. And I think one of the things we're seeing at the moment is that there's not really a lot coming from the young people themselves, and we need them desperately. I mean, are you looking to expand the youth panel, or is it a limited number of people?
We are looking to expand the youth panel at the moment. So I've just finished a sort of promotional advertisement, which we'll be posting probably the end of this month to get some more people, particularly because the people that we had a couple of years ago are now older, and are now
Yeah,
maybe
yeah.
closer to 19.
The
So
age out of it, yeah.
yes, they have. So we are looking to expand it at the moment, because we don't have many people right now due to that. And so we are looking to expand it, and it's certainly not limited, and it's certainly not just a select number of people really, because everybody has something to provide. And as you've said, we don't have as many young people that are that engaged anymore, but that's because we aren't saying no matter what your skills are, you have something to provide. That's not a message that we put across anymore, and it's something people need to hear. We think everybody has something unique and valuable perspective on their home education, so definitely open to things.
Yes. Well, the what is the website? Is it educationotherwise.org?
Uh,
.org.uk? Let me
I think it
tell
is.
you. I'll go and look, because I'm sure if there's any parents with young people and they want them to be able to to ask about this, then they should. So it's yeah, educationotherwise.org is the website, so you can contact them if you want to find out more about the youth panel, and look into what Education Otherwise have to offer. Somebody had a question here actually about your personal life, about the Open University. How are they with degrees and pricing for home education? Do they offer any discounts?
I don't know an awful lot about this. So I understand that there are general things that you can get, such as the average student loans, but also I know the Open University have different programs for people in different circumstances, so lower income. There are existing university programs for that. I don't know about anything home ed specific,
Hmm.
but I can look into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's the average ones for all people on certain below certain income levels with different support programs that they have. I don't think they have anything home ed specific.
Yeah, maybe not. Well, maybe you'll be the one to champion for that. And sounds like you've got the right mindset for that. And in terms of the youth panel, what sort of ages are you looking for?
I think somebody's just said that they do have something home ed related, so I'm sure they can add something on that. For the ages, we've got officially 13 to 18, but we have, some children are a bit younger and have maybe, I mean, I joined when I was, I think, 12, but we just sent an email explaining sort of circumstances and that maybe I would be appropriate. And then we did a interview, which obviously sounds very formal, but it really is just getting to know the young person. So we are open to people in different circumstances, but officially I'd say 13 to 18.
Okay. So Joe, you mentioned that you've said in the comments that um, Open University do offer something for home educators. Would you like to answer that
Oh,
one?
I'll hop in really quickly. They have got a home educators hub now on the Open University website. They've got a lot of lecturers and staff that are really supportive of home ed. They've also got some information I can share separately for you after the conference, where you can do the badged courses, which are free. So you have to look at the badged courses. And if you do a number of the badged courses, you can then ask for entry into one of their access courses. So if you didn't have any GCSEs or A levels, there is a pathway through the Open University. And as Alice quite rightly pointed out, you can apply for the standard government loan to do your access course and your degree.
So I would suggest if you're able to go back to the YouTube video later on, Joe, and put some of that information under in the chat there. Um, I wanted to also, we spoke earlier about before you came in about how I feel like home education almost kills the generation gap, because they always talk about this generation gap between the parent and the child and the teachers and the children, that you don't understand each other and you don't talk to each other, and the parent says, "How are you?" and the child goes, "Ooh," and then the mother says, "How was your day?" "Ooh." It's like you don't talk to your parents, and there's like just no, you don't meet each other sort of in the middle somewhere. And I feel like home education changes that dynamic between the parent and the child. Has that been your experience?
Yes, I really couldn't agree more with that. And I think it's a general thing about age as an overall factor that you don't see an older generation as being just, oh, they don't understand or I don't have an interest in engaging with them. I think it really breaks down age barriers in a lot of ways, especially because the way that home ed is socialized isn't by year groups as well. So they generally have a very diverse age group of friends, which I think is fantastic
Mm.
because I just don't think a school system works where the only common denominator between you and the people you're around is your age, and then you're just sort of thrown in and expected to work around and make friends from just that. And some people are at different stages. And I think that the diversity of the people that we socialize with as home educators is amazing in terms of friends and also in terms of adults and speaking to the parents of other home educators and learning how they do things. It really does break down those age barriers between your friends and your parents and teachers and thinking about you aren't just older than me, which means you don't understand or you don't have any relation to the experience because you're always working together and figuring out and overcoming the problems with your home education together. So it makes it much more of a team thing rather than a me and older counterpart.
Yeah. I think I found with my children, certainly, you appeal to them as a young adult almost, where they're making the decisions about their life. It's not you making the decisions for them. You're supporting them to be in the driver's seat for their own lives and make those decisions. And certainly the way you're coming across now, I think it's quite unusual for a 15-year-old. And I know when my children have gone to college for interviews and that kind of thing, this is what the tutors see is here's a young person who's confident, they're engaging, they lit up talking about the thing they enjoy, and we find that gets a really positive response. And I think it's very different to what they're used to seeing generally amongst young people. So I don't know. I mean, do you find have you got quite a good social circle at the moment?
Yes, I've
Yeah.
always found that. Yes, I'm very lucky to live in an area with a very good home ed community. We've always got lots of different clubs going on and lots of different groups and meetups, and it's been really lovely, especially because I left school sort of not really sure about home education because I was quite young. I just understood that that was what my parents thought was best after my school had changed management and everything. And I really didn't understand. And meeting all these other home educators, they were so welcoming and really brilliant. And I don't think I would have got as far as I had in home education if I hadn't been sort of taken in by this community. And they were all lovely. And I just think
Yeah.
it's so brilliant, like you're saying, it really does give people confidence. And we know children are great self-led learners because they teach themselves to speak and walk and everything, and they can do it and they love to choose things themselves.
Yeah, I sort of feel like we can get in the way. It's actually for us to get out of the way so that you can actually learn and grow and to come. Actually, there's a really good saying. It says, don't be the sage on the stage, be the guide on the side. And I think it's such a great saying because the school model tends to be like, I'm the wise, all-knowing one. And I don't want to knock because there's a lot of people that really do a brilliant job in the classroom. But there's this model or idea that you have the wise, clever one sharing their knowledge with everyone. Um, and yet, actually, when you come alongside the person, you actually can accomplish so much more. So there, Joe has said, what a great advert for Home Ed. So that's a very nice comment from Joe.
Thank you.
And somebody here said, good luck with starting your course. So that was really nice that I think people are, and a lot of people want to know what happens to the children. What's become of them? Are they okay? Do they know how to socialize? Yeah, the usual.
Yes, no, we've heard it, and I think they are okay. And the thing is, the children that maybe struggle socializing would have struggled socializing in school as well.
Yeah. Yeah. I always say you'd have to be living under a rock, right? To not, we're all social beings, and my children used to tag along with me everywhere I went as well. And yeah, I think what we would love to see is just more and more young people becoming articulate, speaking about home education, um, and getting the word out there more and more. And the stories come, but often it's like the child that got their GCSE at age 9, and then there's some home educating families where their child can't do any exams, and then it's like that's not that could just make them feel more deflated. But it's this idea generally that you will be okay.
Yeah,
The young
absolutely.
people are okay.
And they are. They
Yeah.
absolutely are because they figure out what they want to do and they find their path, and that's exactly what they need to be doing.
Yeah,
And
and
we know that,
and
a lot of children struggle when they finish A levels, don't know what they want to do at university, and home educated children generally find their thing and they find their niche really easily.
yeah, yeah, and your parents, that was quite brave of them to take that step with you back then.
Yes,
Yeah,
very, very, very exceptionally brave. So when I was in school, I was non-verbal, so that's obviously changed quite significantly.
a
Um,
little bit, little
a
bit.
little bit, yeah. So for my
Yeah.
last year of school, I wasn't speaking at all anymore. And
Wow.
I had a issue with my muscles where I wasn't eating either, and I had a problem with swallow reflex. So we really had to make a sort of quite urgent decision,
Mm.
and I was very reluctant to leave school because obviously I didn't understand that that was allowed. We had to meet my home education officer, my local one, quite quickly because I was utterly convinced it was illegal and not, what do you mean I don't have to go to school and that's allowed? And especially since I've been struggling with attendance and the whole goal you're given for so long is to get into
Yeah,
school and then they say we can leave, can we?
yeah,
It was really brave. I was totally against it, and then as soon as I left, loved it. Would never ever go back. You could never push me back into a school building. It's the most amazing thing. But it was such a brave decision, and I'm so glad that they did it because they really had to take that leap, and the school was telling them not to, and I was. and it was really the best decision they've made. But it's such a brave thing, and that's why I think places like Education Otherwise need to exist, because there's so many parents. My parents didn't know about charities like that. There's so many parents who don't know if it's the right thing for their child and are a bit scared to make that decision. So it's so necessary.
Yeah, I see a question here, which I'm not so much, I think it's just more of a general question. Yeah, but do we see parents asking for help because they're concerned about, tech being used in schools as early as year 2 and the school won't allow them to opt out? And what is our advice? And to be honest, I don't know if do you work on the helpline sometimes with EO, or do you hear
So
of what parents are asking about?
I do the Education Otherwise helpline training, which means that when we have new people being trained for the helpline, I'll come in as like a caller and do a pretend call with them to
Okay.
train them. Because of my age, I don't do anything on the
Yeah.
helpline myself.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yes.
but I will
This,
do when I'm old enough.
I mean, Michelle might be able to answer this one about, I mean, I haven't really come across parents pulling their kids out of school because of ed tech. Michelle,
It's the same as anything. It's everyone's got their own perspectives, and
Yeah.
people do people do pull them out for those reasons. They pull them out for the other reasons as well, because some it's there's too much exposure to tech, some it's there's not enough exposure to tech, and we're in a modern society that needs AI and synchronized things. So it ultimately comes down to, we've got quite a nice law at the moment that basically says parent knows best to choose how their child's to be educated. And if your personal beliefs as a family is that you want to be tech free, then that's as valid reason to home educate as if you want to be doing the majority of your education via technology. It just comes back to, the education needs to be suitable to your child's age, ability, and aptitude,
Yeah.
and that has to be a very personal family decision, because there's
Yeah.
no right or wrong answer. The right answer is the answer that works for your family, that means your child receives an education that's suitable for them. So there's not a yes or no here.
Yeah.
But some people absolutely do, because they're worried about the potential mental health implications, particularly when other countries are talking about banning technology for younger ages.
Yeah.
So you can see why people would be concerned, but it's what's right for your family. So
Yeah. And Jo has commented that she's seen 2 cases just this week pull out because of the school's use of AI with kids. So, but it is a fairly new issue. And as Michelle has said, like, people will have very different reasons of why they pull children out. And something that's quite interesting is that I found my reasons for continuing after a couple of years were not the same as my reasons for starting. So, because home education offers so much more than a reaction to things.
and the
It's
same
such a
bit would be
rich
bit
choice.
for asking about the forest schools. But so it would depend on the area where you are and what's available as forest schools, and some have drop off forest schools, some you'd have to
Yes,
stay on board.
you'd need to repeat the question here because for the video, Michelle.
Oh, sorry. Yep. So also on the YouTube, they've asked about if forest schools are an option, and obviously that will depend on the area where you live, and it will depend on what you class as forest school, because there's whether you want a drop off, whether you want one where you're staying there with your child, whether you want to implement yourself forest school principles, but you don't actually want a formal forest school setting. But it's certainly an option if you want a tech free education for your child, to look them up. But again, it's down to what's right for your family and for your child.
Yes, well, that particular question was also about whether the child would be lonely because it's an only child. And I think where it comes to her child is age 2.5, and the worries that the child will feel lonely and like missing out. First of all, when a child is that young, they will only know they're missing out anything if they've had it. If they've not ever had it, they certainly wouldn't really regard it as anything other than their normal. The other thing is that, are you a social being? If you're a social being, if you tend to be out and busy and meeting people and doing things, then your child will take the lead from you. And yes, certainly you can look for other settings where your child can go and meet other children, play with other children. There are lots of opportunities out there, but we said earlier, unless you were kind of locked in a cupboard and never went out yourself, it's not normally something that we find is a big issue for children. And yeah, I mean, we went on to have quite a few children, so there was like they weren't alone anyway, because they had the built-in playmates. But
Well,
yeah,
mine is an only child, but mine's well and truly a lot older now because he's a teenager. But remember, most libraries still have rhyme time. Most libraries still have story times. So it's a case of, with anything else, you need to seek out what you've got locally, put a couple of posts out, say the sort of age range you're looking for. Normally someone will come back. And also remember parks. Go to a play park. At the age of 2.5, if you go to a youngsters play park on a weekend, there's a high chance there'll be other youngsters there. So it is about you providing opportunities.
Yep. Yeah, and they are there. And I think that what I just found is, as a parent, when you home educate, if something doesn't, if you can't find it, create it. Find something that you can do with your child that will provide the thing that you feel is missing. And you tend to, when you'll find other people come and join you. Our local group, some groups don't allow parents with very young children to join who are home educating, the Facebook groups. They like the child to be at least 4 years old, but some groups do. And then you can also post out there and say, I'm wanting to go to the park. Does anybody want to join me? My child is this age. And then you make connections that way. It's certainly not been a huge issue to most people that I know, even with an only child. It might just be that you have to just work a little harder to make sure that they've got some that they're out in the world. And I don't want to even sort of say that they have to be doing anything specific. Just let them be out in the world. Let them be exploring the world. Yeah. So any last questions for Alice? I'll just check the YouTube channel. And Angela, the lady was asking about the 2.5-year-old. She says she's very sociable and active. Yeah. So it's to me, I almost see it as being a little bit more like normal interaction would have been before school was forced on people. So it's much the way children would have grown up a couple of 100 years ago, going with mummy everywhere. Yeah. So any more questions for Alice? And it's actually just been lovely to meet you, Alice. I just want to say, and to hear about the work that you're doing with the youth panel. I think that's a really great initiative, and I hope you get more members coming your way to help with that, because we do need it.
Thank you very much. It's been lovely to meet you.
Yeah, and as you can see, she's quite normal. No horns on her head, no tail.
I take them all off
Yeah,
before
there
I
you
do
go.
anything on the camera.
There
Yeah.
you go.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good idea. Yeah. And she's able to talk to people as well. So that's all very positive. So thank you so much for